Good morning and welcome to the Apple iPhone iOS Voiceover Compatible Games interview series. Apple iPhone iOS Voiceover Compatible Games is a group that reviews accessible iPhone games each week. We also do developer interviews as well as accessibility influencer interviews. Today we have a game developer in David Oliva, who is the creator of AudioWizards, which you may have seen out in the App Store and played, and he has a new game coming out called Kilta. So welcome, David.
Hello, and thank you, Aaron. It's very nice to be reached.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us. David and I are halfway across the world from each other. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and he's over in Finland. So we've gotten coordinated, and me in the morning, him in the afternoon. So David, why don't we just get right into it? And, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your company, MyTrueSound, how you got started and what you're trying to accomplish with that company.
Okay. It's a long story, actually, but I was working in acoustics and for many years doing research in a laboratory. And I started to get tired of what I was doing. Also, there was very poor chemistry with my former boss, and we were part of a university where also games were being developed, or where games were, how to develop games was being taught. So I contacted the department and I said, I would like to join your team. I can bring a lot of expertise about immersive audio and stuff like that. And then they say, oh, good, but we don't have funding. You will need to find your own project and so on, earn also expertise. So I thought, okay, after thinking it for a while, I thought, let's do a company to make accessible games that can be played only by audio. And for sure, then I learned very much about that and how many they were. But at that time, I knew nothing. But in any case, I decided to make the move. I founded the company and few very nice students that wanted to join and give their energy. And so we started to work. Our first demo was called Gold Gun. It was a catastrophe. Perhaps some of you know it, but the game was our first demo. And so it was pretty poor. There were errors and there were also some mistakes about in the dialogues. Some part of the blind community didn't take them well. And we decided to cancel the project. It was like, okay, critics have been very big, so let's stop. And then actually, because we were working to make that game, we started to develop our own audio game engine. Then we thought like, hey, wait, what if the future is not doing audio games, but doing the software to enable blind fellows, programmers, or just fellows that they want to make their own games to do them. And then we can partnership, we provide the software, the tool, the education, how to use it, and then we also take care of the publishing or some type of deal. So we were working on that. We applied for some funding from the European community. They saw a very nice innovative potential and with like very big social impact. And we tried to develop it, but we failed again. And so it was complicated. Then we also noticed that in the States, there was this group creating the Sable, I don't know how to pronounce it, but then we thought, oh, those guys actually are much faster and better than us. And then at the same time, it started to be, well, we ran out of funding and then different ideas. So we kind of split. And that was again like, okay, what do we do now? Then I found a very nice group of talented students where they were students that they had to do a project. And I proposed them, hey, what about if you do an audio game? And that's when AudioWizards started to appear. The group was fantastic.
A lot of persistence on your end, right? I mean, for the audience, yeah. you keep trying, it doesn't work out, but you don't stop. You keep pivoting until you find something that works.
Yes, and I believe all my family members agree with that I can be a little bit perseverant And yeah, actually it's the best that you can say to me, you are not capable of doing something, no? Or then it's when I say, well, now we will check it. And so, well, actually from that team of AudioWizards, it's the team that has been doing now Kilta. So very fantastic programmers. They really like the concept of making the games accessible for everybody. We believe gaming, playing, it's a universal right. Everybody should have that. And so we enjoy doing it. And so we launched it.
Those two games are very different. I mean, the AudioWizards sounds like it's well, it is a 2D audio type of game. The Kilta, the new game you have coming out, is quite a different game. So, like, you know, how was it making that switch in genres from what you did with AudioWizards to what you're doing now?
Good question. Yes. So the change actually was proposed by the programmers, by the team. So after AudioWizards, we were a little bit shocked about the few commercial impact that the game had. We really were expecting for much better figures, especially because the feedback about the game now it was very good. Everybody who played the game said like, wow, it has humor, it's fun, it's difficult, and it was also playable for people with sight. So it was very, very complete. But then we stop and we say, okay, what do we do now? And then they say, okay, we want to make a different type of game. And I gave them 1 month. I remember, like, okay, let's talk in 1 month to see what concept you have. And then they brought the concept of Kilta, which is an auto battler with a lot of stories, so strategy, and a little bit like those roguelike games, or, well, you know, you will have heroes to recruit and give them weapons, armor, and select that equipment based on the characteristics of the heroes, and also based on what enemies you are going to have in the battlefield. So it is a PC game. It will be accessible. We actually start, we will get ready the beta testing version tomorrow. And there have been a bunch of blind players that have joined this beta testing phase. One of them is AIIVCG. Most probably many of you know him. Very nice guy. And let's see, we are not very sure about what's going to be the experience. And for that, we will need more time to improve that experience, more time and a little bit of funding. So hopefully the game sells, but yeah, we will like to bring a 3D immersive experience, no? A little bit that to compensate the lack of visuals, that you can feel a little bit more present in the battlefield, no? Somehow that you will be the general, and you will see, you could experience from the sounds what's going on in the battlefield. So let's see, a lot of work to do. A lot of uncertainties because we will publish the final game within 1.5 months, hopefully. And
will that be available just like on your website, or will that be downloadable on Steam, or how do people get to it?
And itch.io. So we know Steam is not the most accessible, friendly platform. So we decided to put it in itch.io, even though that will open the door for people to crack the game. Steam is more secure, and it's the platform where we will otherwise will have published the game only, but because we want to be, well, make the game as accessible as possible. So we decided, well, let's do it in itch.io, and that's it. If somebody decides to share the game with the fellows, what can we do? We don't like it, but we know it's the name of the game.
Now, again, these two very different games, and one being an audio-based game. I imagine creating accessibility for those two games is very different. With the process you go through for doing accessibility for an audio game, which probably is a little bit more straightforward because it's an audio game versus what you're doing now. I imagine those accessibility processes to set up the accessibility is very different for those two games. Would that be a fair assessment?
Well, we actually basically are using the same system. So we use Unity to develop our games, and there is a very nice and useful plugin in there called USP. It was what it is, but it's an accessible plugin, or a plugin that enables you to make games accessible. It's not bulletproof. You need to then code over it, modified some parts, and especially when you go into a more complicated game like ours. But it's a good starting point for all developers that want to make their games also accessible.
MyTrueSound interview.
And
Alexa off. That was reminding me of our interview. Alexa off.
Alexa, go away now. So yes, it's complicated, but our main programmer Jonas Mukkonen, very talented guy, actually sees it as an interesting challenge and has worked very much on it. And he's this kind of autodidact self-doer programmer, but his final thesis, it's about accessibility in gaming. So if any developer wants to learn more, well, his thesis will be accessible from the internet. So then,
will the new game, I know it's starting on Steam and on the PC, is there an eventual goal to get it on mobile devices like the Android or the iPhone?
No, not at the moment. If everything goes well, we would like to port it to other platforms, especially Nintendo and Twitch, but it depends of how the game makes it. And so we can't promise anything.
So at the beginning of your career, it sounds like you kind of got focused in on the audio aspect of games. How did that become the niche that you started your career in?
Well, as I was telling, I wanted to make the change from my research career in acoustics to the gaming, and eventually I succeeded. So after some time, I was able to find my own funding in the university to make that move to the gaming. So now in the game department.
Why did you focus on acoustics just at the very beginning? Like why?
At the very beginning, it's the job I found.
Okay.
I'm a physicist. I studied in university theoretical physics back in Spain. So I'm originally from there. I've been living now in Finland for 20 years. I became an adult in here. So I actually feel that I'm more Finnish now than Spanish. But yeah, when I moved, I was unemployed. I just graduated, very poor language skills in Finnish. Also, well, not much better than what they are now in English. And that's the job I found. I was knocking at doors, and then I asked, hey, I can work in here even for free a few months. And they said, really? Oh, wow. We would like to have a programmer to do a ray tracing based sound propagation model. And that's what I started to do. Then when we got that model done, that software, then I moved into research. So I've been a lot of years doing measurements, environmental noise in factories, and also a lot of research on the negative impact on health of noise. Not necessarily noise with very high level. Two sounds might have the same sound pressure level, but the perception, the feeling you have out of them, it's completely different. So what are the physical characteristics in the noise that affect more subjective annoyance and stuff like that? So,
like
decibels.
To the point where
decibels
is it to the point like unique sounds or unique sound waves might, alter mood or,
No, it was very much, imagine you are at home and you listen a sound from outside, like traffic or your neighbor watching TV or a dog barking. So how those sounds, which in level they are not loud, but how do they affect annoyance? In order to try to modify the noise codes and noise regulations. Decibel is not the only physical parameter that we could use to describe a sound or a noise. So yeah, that's what I was doing a lot. Actually, if you want to read more about it, in a few months you could read my PhD thesis about the topic, which hopefully will be the last time I talk about decibels in my life. I'm very tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. You were earlier mentioning, the team. You went out, you gave them a month to come up with the concept of the new game. Tell me about the team that you're working with. Who makes up MyTrueSound?
Okay, that's very good because I think they are fantastic. So young people who like to play and who like to make games, I think that's the first thing. And basically, Kilta, we had in the company some money to make the game at the beginning, but they knew when they started that the money was not going to last for the whole process. And despite of that, they continue. And despite of that, they are getting the game ready. So people that have an idea and want to put it on, want to materialize it. And well, we also need to understand that they are young, they need to create their portfolio, they need to have a curriculum, a CV to show in the future to other gaming companies, I did this game and this game and this game. So I think that's also part of the energy that help them to move forward. We have
like
currently...
Is it a rotating group of people or is it a pretty steady group of people?
Pretty stable at the moment, pretty stable, sure. Because I work at the university and I teach, for instance, game physics, how to apply physics in gaming to make them look realistic or to verify data. I'm able to suggest to the very best students, hey, look, you could come to do a practice work to my company, earn experience. We have no money to provide, or very few sometimes, actually sometimes, yeah, we can pay. But so yeah, they come to do a practice work. So we have had all in all over 30 students doing one thing or another, like since we started in 2017 until now. But the guys that are doing now Kilta, they are the same ones that did AudioWizards. We also tried to do AudioWizards multiplayer with another group of students, and we didn't succeed. We had a working version. Then another group of students tried to improve it, but they didn't succeed. It was a mess because they wanted to start from zero, and that was an error that I should have avoided, but I wanted to let them free hands. And yeah, it didn't work well. So no, actually more than 30 students we have had. But yeah, Kilta team has been for a few years, or for 3 years. And so they are 3 programmers who develop in Unity using C#. Then we had one guy that started originally as from marketing, but then he was the writer of the stories. He also wrote all the dialogues in AudioWizards. So whoever has played the game can know the skills of this guy. Then we have very good musician, Janne Kantola, sound designer that now has left to a bigger game company. We are very proud of him. Who else has been? Then we have Paulina, very talented visual artist. It's amazing the talent of this woman. She's very young. And then we have had some few students doing backgrounds for the game and stuff like that. So, well, sometimes the students come, they do a few credits, like 200 working hours and then they leave and with recognition and their name on the credits. It's very much how we move forward. And to me, it's a fantastic opportunity, and I feel somehow proud of helping this gaming community to grow in this city. So yeah.
And you're in Helsinki, is that right?
No, Turku.
Turku.
It's a small city, much smaller than Helsinki, by the southwest coast.
Okay. And in that city and your university, how many, like, what's the breakdown of students that are male versus female who are kind of working on gaming?
Well, we have definitely female students. I will not say 50-50, but most probably 30-70. Yeah, there are female students, absolutely. Yeah, and then I will say we have two also brands or two lines of education. One is like the programming, and then the visual artists. And I will say also that then female is split in half and half in those two lines. So yeah, there are very talented programmers, women programmers. And then, well, for instance, if I can make a mention to our gaming ecosystem in this city, there is Natasha, who is, well, she is amazing. I will not have ever time to make all the things that she makes for her own company and for the IGDA, the International Game Development Association, and then our hub, gaming hub in here. She's very, very active. So yeah, I would not say that women are under, well, they have a presence, definitely.
When you are, creating these games, whether it be AudioWizards or Kilta, how do you think through the, monetization of that game? How you're going to charge for that game, whether it be, one-time charges or microtransactions, or how do you work through that process? And what do you think is kind of the best formula for making sure this is a financially viable game for you as well?
Good, and I love the question. Everybody needs to eat pizza. That's the starting point, and pizza cost. So in order to pay the pizza, we need to monetize our work. So we don't make free games. Then we don't like, especially not me, I don't like games including in-app purchases. If I buy a game, if I start a game, I want to play it, and from the beginning till the end. And that's for us the main thing. Okay, let's make a game, and then let's balance what's the price. For instance, well, actually, we have in the market another game called Heartbeat Regret. It's a horror game, fully accessible, even have colorblind modes and stuff like that. And it's available in Steam and itch.io. And that game, it's 1.3 euros. So about $1.5. And why it's so low? Because it's short. But it has a quality. It can provide a few hours of gaming experience. And it's quite challenging, actually. So I know that for some people, it has take like 20 hours to be completed. But yeah, so all our games are monetized with one-time purchase. AudioWizards was 5 euros. We knew we were taking a risk, but we didn't want to make in-app purchases. Eventually, somebody asked us, hey, I would like to come to do a practice work. I'm Spanish. What could I do? And then I said, okay, let's actually make a Spanish version of AudioWizards, and let's change the monetization and put in-app purchases. So you can play 8 levels for free, and then you can buy 5 levels at a time to complete the game. And it didn't work. I know Spanish and Spanish-speaking markets are more complicated. There is in there the culture, like everything should be free. And if it's not free, I will crack it down and I will play it for free. So, well, the game has not made in that market basically money. And so, well, it's a pity because then people send us messages like, wow, I would love to play this game in Italian. I would love to play it in my mother language. And it's, I'm agree, but we just can't. I cannot translate a game, and because it costs us money and energy, and then just expect 3 downloads. So it's very complicated. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons why when we started to make Kilta, we decided, okay, this is not anymore an audio game. This is a game, and we will try to make it accessible. And so we did, but it's not anymore an audio game. At least me, I was a little bit frustrated by how the game is sold in the community. I was expecting more. That's the truth. I normally don't say that publicly. For sure, never I mention it in our website or Twitter, but now when we are talking, like, why not? It was disappointing. And so, well, that's one of the reasons why we decided to stop doing audio games. And in any case, AudioWizards, to be honest, it is not an audio game. It's a game, again, that it's accessible. It has visuals, and it actually balances very well the audio and the visuals. So all players can play it under the same level of, I mean, the last levels, you really need to hear if you want to succeed. Only watching at the screen will not make the game like easy. So yeah.
The other thing I've heard developers kind of mention, get your perspective on this, that when you create a game like AudioWizards, it's kind of like having a child, because you're never really done with it. When there's updates by Apple or new security things, I mean, new phones, like you constantly have to kind of go back and update and fix glitches that end up happening when these new things get introduced. So you never get to kind of divorce yourself from AudioWizards as long as it's kind of out there. Has that kind of been your experience as well?
Yeah, well, perhaps we were lucky that the game had very few bugs. Those guys did very good work. I know there are a couple of them. Sometimes we get some email from some players saying like, hey, did you notice that this is happening? But they are 2 very minor errors that don't impair so much the gaming experience. And Apple and Android, or like Google Play, sometimes send us emails like, oh, you need to now review the new terms and conditions, or you need to provide a new link about this and blah, blah. It requires a little bit, but at least not much to us. But I understand what you say, and I believe it happens. Yeah, nothing is perfect. Absolutely never the first version of a game. So yeah, but we have been lucky so far. That's also, well, I think we do a lot of testing in the game before we launch it, and that has helped it a lot. Now we start with the accessibility testing of the Kilta, and that's the thing. We don't want to get a bunch of messages after it saying like, "Hi, actually, I could not play the game fully. I want my money back," which we will return for sure. But we don't want those messages. So we will take the time we need to make the testing and to minimize those things. Also there is that aspect that because we are not sure what it happens in the future, also we will not like to be in the situation that the team splits, because then we decide, okay, this programmer has found a better job in this other company and blah, blah. And then, oh, suddenly the game is not working well. We will need to. So, well, big companies can afford to do patches and fix the game. We can't afford it so well, so we try to launch the game as, yeah.
I really applaud you for putting accessibility in your games and kind of concentrating and thinking about it. But the majority of games that are out there are not accessible. And what do you think is really the roadblocks that are preventing more games from being accessible? Is it really just time and effort and finances, or is there a lack of understanding? What do you think kind of prevents more games from being accessible?
Yeah, I think well, many people have not ever talked to a blind guy, and they don't know what's to be on their shoes and how hard it can be the life. So I think some people is missing that empathy that it's natural, no? And I have to be honest, I didn't know anybody blind before I started AudioWizards. Then there was Mikko Herranen. He's a rock star in Finland, and he joined the team, and I learned very much from him. So perhaps the first thing is people don't know. And so all the work that people like you are doing to share the word, not tell the world like, hey, we are here and we want to play. I think it's needed. So keep it doing because it will pay off. And now, well, actually we see that it's paying off because, well, games like Last of Us 2 and things like that have been finally done and well done. So very good. And I know, well, I follow some people working on as accessibility experts for those companies. And so actually there is possibility to get a job as accessibility expert. Hard, but some people is doing it. Then the next aspect is the money. Definitely, there is a balance between the money you have. You know, all the small studios, we have nothing at the beginning. We just start developing because we believe that we can make it. The market is oversaturated. You know, 1,000 games published every day for mobile devices. It's oversaturated, the market. So then you really need to do as good game as possible and save time and resources from everywhere. So, well, it has happened to us when we were doing Kilta. We had to think, do we really need to make it accessible? Is it worth? But in there, for us, it was an easy decision. Well, it's worth for us. We just want to do it. It's our philosophy, and I was very happy that the whole team saw it the same way as I did. And because perhaps they will have said no, we don't see it as needed, but they follow it, and so we did. So in our case, I think we just thought that it was the right thing, but many people, I suppose, they just don't know that this is needed, and how to do it, I suppose, is the third thing. No, many people might say, okay, yeah, sure, there is that right of playing, but how do we do it? And that's actually why, well, we suggest, or we talk with Jonas, like, okay, let's make your final thesis about how to make a game accessible. So we share that document, those skills that you learn with the world, and they will be shared. And so we hope we are helping somehow to improve the situation.
Yeah, I mean, in talking to a lot of different developers over the course of last year, the common theme seems to be, I do it because it's just the right thing to do. It's not, you know, it's more work and it's costing me money, but it's the right thing to do. So, and I just want more people to play my game. And, you know, that seems to be the kind of the common theme throughout all the people that I speak to about adding accessibility to their games. What, you know, for the community, for the players such as myself who are going to play your game and enjoy its accessibility, I mean, what can we do as a community to support you and support other game developers who are doing accessibility so that more accessible games come out and we get to have more games to play?
I suppose mouth to mouth, it's the thing. I know, well, for instance, it happens when we publish Heartbeat Regret. And at that time, people was like crazy in the audiogames.net forum with this, how it was called, this game that people got crazy about it. Now I can't remember the game, but everybody was
Papa
talking
Sangre?
only. What?
Papa Sangre?
No. Now, like this summer, what has been the game? No, it was this one, and then the Papamon, or no, what it was, well, so we know people were very interested about one game and then they didn't care about the other, and that was a bad luck. But yeah, we really wish that if we make a game and you like it, tell your friends. Give it for free to a friend. Say like, hey, it costs $1.50. I'm going to give it to a couple of friends. That can be one way. But I think telling, giving reviews into, also that's the thing. We have some few thousands downloads of AudioWizards, and I didn't check it lately, but very few reviews in the App Store and so on. So give us few stars, 1, 2, 3, the ones you think are fair, but give us a comment, show us that how much you appreciate the work and how well or how bad we did. So yeah, give feedback. That's very good. Talk to your friends.
Yeah, I tell my community to always go out and try to review the game if they've played it, because the more reviews you have, whatever, it doesn't even really matter the score, but the more reviews you have, you end up in the algorithms to kind of show up as, if you like this game, then maybe you like that game, which gets you more exposure. So just reviewing the game at any level, whether you give it a 5-star or a 3-star, just the number of reviews is really, really important.
Yeah. On the other hand, I really have to say that we really have gotten a lot of support from the community. Like in the audiogames.net, we have published a lot of topics. Hey, we are going to do that. Any ideas? So what do you think about that? And there have been people in there so supportive that actually help us to keep going on for a few days more. So that was also very good, and so well, we are satisfied with we are happy. But yeah, it's somehow, when you consider the amount of people that cannot play typical games, where visuals are so important, and there are millions, and then we make a good game and it sells 3,000-4,000 copies, then you wonder, okay, what we did wrong, how could we improve it? And
rising above the noise. I mean, as you said, with 1,000 games being released a day, I mean, to try to be heard among that noise is difficult. I mean, no matter how good your game is,
it's terrible. It's terrible because we don't have money. Not me, not us, but normally all new companies, small studios. There is that thumb rule that you should spend half of the development money into marketing. And how you do that? I mean, where do you get that other half? So it's very complicated to make the noise.
Yeah, it's also kind of counterintuitive. Like, shouldn't I spend that money making a better game? Wouldn't that be a better spend? But yeah, you got to get heard, and that's tough. So, a groundswell of grassroots, telling your friends about a game, reviewing the game, getting podcasters to or YouTubers to kind of cover playing your game. I mean, all of that can help with that exposure. So so again, community members, go check out the game. If you like it, review it. All of that is really important to these developers. Again, remember that there is a real human being and a group of people who are creating these games, and as David said, everybody needs to eat some pizza. So please help them be able to play more, or be able to create more games for us to play. David, I know you have another interview coming up, a busy day for you, so I don't want to keep you too long. But just any closing remarks that you might have before we end our conversation.
Well, perhaps because we are talking about accessibility and programming. I really think that there is a future for blind developers. I mean, programming is something that it's very abstract, and you can do it without sight. I know it will take it's harder, and I really raise my hat for all those ones that have succeeded to find a job in the programming or coding industries. And so yeah, I would like to encourage young people that it's wondering, what could I do in the future? Where could I get a job? To actually try that field, of, I can be a programmer and I can program, I can help, I can be a part of a team. doing good games. So that can be a very nice thing, and I really encourage that thing. Something else, don't worry about my next interview. I send them a message that I might be a few minutes long. I will not like that this gets too short because of the timing, but yeah, I think we have to talk about good things. But yeah, I don't know, what are the final remarks? I really hope people like Kilta. It's very uncertain in the future. We really believe that we would like to make it grow. We have a lot of stories, a lot of things that we want to add into the game, and only whether it succeeds economically or not, we will be able to do. Sure, it's not that we now say, oh, come on, buy the game. Well, we hope the game talks by itself and sells well. We have I think pretty good marketing strategy already. We have contacted a lot of streamers, YouTubers, influencers, magazines, and we have gotten a lot of feedback from our early access. That's perhaps also interesting thing to talk. So the game has been in early access. It means that you can play the game, you can buy it, even though the game is not ready. But when the game is ready, you have the game already. You don't need to pay it twice. And that sometimes it's a dangerous thing, because you might get negative feedback from players that don't objectively like criticize the game, no, thinking like, okay, it's that short because still it's under development, or it lacks good visuals because of that. So, well, we have gotten good and bad, but the bad ones were always saying, oh, this is because it's too short. So now when the game is going to be much longer, I mean, before it was only a few hours of gameplay, now it's at least 6-7 times of that. So we hope we can change the first impressions. So yeah, what I mean is, if you go to Steam and you see some thumbs down, don't worry, we are changing that. The game is now super solid. It's actually a very beautiful game, and I hope blind fellows also feel the same. As I say, we will try to improve the experience bit by bit.
We had a really great conversation today, and I would love to have you back, maybe 3 months from now, after your new game is out there on the market, just kind of hear how the experience was, what you learned from putting that game out, and just kind of get a kind of update on it. I think that would be great for the community. So if you're willing a couple months to check back in, I'd love to talk to you and see how it's been going.
Oh, that will be very nice, actually. It will be very nice, because hopefully we can tell new things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you so much. And sorry for the early weird time zone misunderstanding that we had, but we got it all kicked off. So that's good.
Don't worry.
All right.
Now this is done, and I hope all the people that listens us and all the people that normally listens to you have enjoyed this episode. And sure, if any one of you have any question, we are reachable. We have a website, so www.mytruesound.com, contact@mytruesound.com, easy way to reach us. Also, you can send me directly an email, david@mytruesound.com. So yeah, we are here, and hope to hear from you too.
All right.
So
perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, and good luck with your next interview.
You too. Okay. Bye-bye.